unbelievable that we are dealing with an individual by the name of Paul Williams who has a deep rooted hatred for anything apostolic. Paul Williams has claimed in the past to be an actual Christian, to have been, excuse me. Yet I find nothing in any of his arguments compelling. I have found his videos on the early church councils to be a farce. I have found his biblical theology to be terrible. His grasp of the early fathers horrible. I have not been impressed at all by anything he's put out. And then I get directed to a video, well, actually to an article. I don't know if you did a video on it. I get directed to an article posing the question, really is quite direct, but he puts it as a question to avoid polemics. St. Augustine, the pedophile, yes. Now, I've got to be honest, we know why he does it. Paul Williams, who was probably never really a practicing Christian, because if you know your Christology, you know the early church, you're not going to become Muslim. And he claims to have been a practicing, I don't know, evangelical or something, became Muslim. He does make a mockery of the Christian faith by putting a photo of St. Thomas Aquinas, whose theology he probably knows little to nothing of. And he does make a mockery of the faith. And we realize why he poses the question of, was Augustine a pedophile? St. Augustine. He's trying to justify the pedophilia of his prophet, Muhammad, who we've got to be very clear, was a false prophet, was a liar, was a deceiver, was a snake. And I don't say that to be disrespectful and hateful to Muslims. Muslims, I invite you all to study the Bible and early church history, and you will find that there is no room for Islam at the big boy table of logical discussion. It is not an ancient faith. It comes quite late. It was not taught biblically. You can't find kernels of truth of it in the Old Testament. And Muhammad didn't know the Christian faith or the Judaic faith well at all. So what Paul Williams is attempting to do here is he's attempting to, in essence, attack the ancient Catholic faith to make Islam not look so bad with the clear pedophilia of his false prophet Muhammad. And an individual, by the way, I have no clue who that guy is. I'm not even going to mention his name, but he made a post, I imagine on Facebook or somewhere, and we're going to highlight it. Notice the title, St. Augustine, the pedophile. Paul Williams, I'm telling you right now, you have no reason to decline a debate against me. I've debated Dr. Shabir Ali, Dr. Musharraf Hussain, Shadid Lewis. I've debated a number of Islamic apologists, a number of Islamic scholars, and they've debated me multiple times. I've had well over 20 live and public, not all of them in person, of course, live and moderated debates against Muslims. You have no reason to decline to debate against me. Get it done. I am willing to debate any topic with you. I'd love to get the debate done on my brother Sam Shimoon's channel. If you don't want to do it there, do it in my channel. I can guarantee you Sam will be charitable and he will allow a fair and moderated debate to happen. Or we can get it done even in your own channel. I'll debate you anywhere. We can debate whether or not any of the early fathers foreshadowed or prefigured Islam, or whether the Old Testament did that. You'll find that your false prophet Muhammad was just that, was a liar and a deceiver. And the fact that he has clearly been shown to have been involved in pedophilia has angered you. You are angry. That is why you loved this post. You loved it. I was reading Augustine's Confessions last night, which is one of the greatest, most frequently read works of Christian literature. Amen to that. It's also a great literary masterpiece. However, I came across the most intriguing passage. Nevertheless, pressure for marriage continued from his mother. And the girl who was asked for almost 2 years under the age for marriage, under Roman law, the minimum age was for marriage was 12. I want you all to realize that a gentleman put that there. That is not part of what Augustine wrote. That you find in brackets is not part of what St. Augustine wrote. But she pleased me, and I was prepared to wait. In Augustine's Confession, St. Augustine. Here we see the difference between the ancient and modern world during sexuality. Augustine was prepared to get married to a girl when she turned 12 and was attracted to her at the age of 10. She pleased me. This shows that it was normal in the ancient world to marry young girls. Of course, I'm pleased that the law has now changed, but in the ancient world, things were very different. Of course, you're going to get a round of applause from Paul Williams, who has now embraced Islam, even though Islam will never embrace him, has now embraced Islam. Paul Williams, I urge you to abandon that horrific, heretical, and false faith and embrace true Christianity, apostolic Christianity. Embrace our triune God. Read what the early church had to say. Read what the Bible had to say about our incredible triune God, our Trinitarian faith. And I urge you, and I really, really encourage you to do deeper research. I've seen your videos, my friend, on the Council of Ephesus and Chalcedon and what have you, and they are shipwrecks. You don't know what you're talking about. You would get roasted in a debate on Christology. And I do not tell you by saying, oh, I am so great. No, anyone with a rudimentary understanding of Christology would crush your arguments. You need to get better. Look at this shocking post that you loved, but you didn't do any research, did you? You merely assumed, and then he jumped to the conclusion, and he was giddy. He was thrilled. Augustine died in 430. He was a theologian, philosopher, and the bishop of Hippo Regius in Numidia, Roman North Africa. His writings influenced the development of Western philosophy and Western Christianity, and he is viewed as one of the most important church fathers of the Lateran Church in the patristic period. He's also one of the most important in the East. They also venerate him, and his work had a great influence on St. Gregory Palamas. He's not only influential in the Latin Church, he's one of the greatest patristic pillars, period. The great St. Augustine. And then what does Paul Williams say? The marriage between Muhammad and Aisha should be considered on the same grounds. To judge an incident nearly 1,400 years old by today's standard of sexuality without considering geographical and cultural issues of that time is anachronism and ignorance at best. I'm going to show you what ignorance is, Paul Williams. I'm going to show you what ignorance is. Ignorance is not knowing any of the work done in this field, because you must think this is the first time anyone has heard these arguments. You must think. Unfortunately, Paul Williams, you haven't done your homework, because if you would have recognized a number of things. Number one, the massive amount of scholars put Augustine's age between 18 and his early 20s in his Confessions when he's writing that about that particular time in his life. What's even more, Paul Williams, in the most scholarly work and prominent work on child brides in Rome, as it is titled, the age of 12 was fixed at a later time. It was fixed at a later time. And indeed, we're going to look at that very evidence. Neither Gaius nor the author of the Tituli indicates that the controversy over the age of marriage, is what's being talked about, was ever resolved. And so it would seem that at least for the classical period, most scholars accept that Justinian put an end to the debate with the following law. And well, what was the law? Sure. In terminating the indelicate practice of examining males to ascertain that they have reached adulthood, we order the following. In the same way that females, once they have completed 12 years of age, are deemed to have reached adulthood in every sense. Here's a problem. This wasn't fixed until AD 529. This was not fixed until AD 29. So the argument that the girl must have been 12 years, by the way, let me let you all know, Augustine never even married her. The great St. Augustine never married her. But they're making him look like a freak, like a pedophile, when they haven't even done any research, despite the fact that scholarship crushes their horrible arguments. Indeed, we have ancient documents that show us that they are wrong and they are misrepresenting the great St. Augustine to only further their dastardly cause. But there's more. He tries to claim that this is what shows that it's fine. The problem is there's another major study done in German, and you can find it online to read for free. I've got a copy of it. It was written by Friedlander. You can read it for free online. He notes that it was common for Roman girls that were married to have been either 13 or 16 or 17, between those ages. Here's the shocking thing. He's very clear that it was in aristocratic circles where girls were married at the age of 12, not within the Christian community, in aristocratic circles. We know that St. Monica was a practicing Christian. We know that from every writing left to us by St. Augustine and others that have venerated and loved the great St. Monica. What else do we know? We know that all of this major study was done by these individuals based on ancient inscriptions. Furthermore, if you look at the research done by Albert Granger Harkness, you can find a ton of his papers that he's done online, a ton of his studies that he's done online. You can just simply Google him. You can find him. He is a major scholar in this field as well. He concluded differently. What did he conclude, though? He concluded that the average age of girls married under Roman law was a year older than 17. According to Friedlander, it was 17, between 13 to 17. And according to Harkness, it was 18 under Roman law. Now, what was this based on? What do these individuals base their research on? They base it on the corpus of Latin inscriptions. The corpus of Latin inscriptions, many that you can find to read for free online, if you know how to navigate them. There was no research done by Paul Williams. When you have these individuals attacking our beautiful faith, attacking the patristic pillars, the early church fathers, St. Augustine, any of the other saints, you know something is up. It was taking them this long to come up with this garbage. But I want you to be aware of one thing. They're not going to stop. They're attacking our early church fathers. They're attacking our Old Testament. They're attacking our New Testament. They're attacking our church councils, calling the Council of Ephesus heretical, embarrassing, calling Chalcedon a mess. And we want them to know that we're here to reply to them every step of the way. We're not going to back down. Every step of the way, every kind of garbage they throw away, we're waiting. We're waiting to reply and to crush any kind of heresy that they put forth. This is embarrassing. This is shoddy. This is not even scholarship. This is horrible to only further their cause and to say, well, it's okay with Muhammad and the relationship between Muhammad and Aisha. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. Despite the fact that we know that Aisha was playing with her little toys. We know Aisha was playing with her toys. And Muhammad still took her and married her. These are the horrors of Islam. Now, I want you to be clear, not all Islamic scholars do this kind of garbage that Paul Williams is doing. They don't. Some of them don't even want to deal with the issue of Aisha because they know it's an embarrassing stain on their faith. But Paul Williams is trying to legitimize, make it seem legitimate, make it seem fine, make it seem okay. And this is really shocking to me when our ancient faith is under attack in the sense that they will not rest. They don't get enough from attacking the Bible, the Old and the New Testaments. They have to attack the Apostolic Fathers. They have to attack the ante-Nicene, the Nicene, the post-Nicene. They have to attack the early fathers. Now, it is the accusation that St. Augustine is a pedophile. This is Augustine's Confessions where you find it, where he tells you. At which time, verily, both at my request and her own desire, with strong heartfelt cries did we daily beg of you that you would by a vision disclose unto her something concerning my future marriage. But you would not. She saw indeed certain vain and fantastic things, such as the earnestness of a human spirit, bent thereon, conjured up, and these she told me of, not with her usual confidence when you had shown her anything, but slighting them. For she could, she declared, through some feeling which she could not express in words, discern the difference between your revelations and the dreams of her own spirit. Yet the affair was pressed on, and a maiden ensued who wanted 2 years of the marriageable age. And, as she was pleasing, she waited for it. We know that the great Augustine, we know that St. Monica prayed for him often, endlessly, for him to convert to the ancient Catholic faith. He eventually did, thanks to his great father, that incredible doctrine father of the church, the great St. Ambrose, who basically got him in a headlock and defeated him in debate. What an incredible story that is. What an amazing story. Helping bring him to the fullness of the faith, bring him to Christ. Just amazing how after living with a concubine for so long, but to be fair, he was faithful to her, but nonetheless, he did send her away after he came to that fullness of the full understanding of the Christian faith, the mission for him in life. And what do we find in the confessions? We find in his confessions a man who was steeped in sin, a man who was steeped in darkness, and he's really bearing his soul out for people to really realize what a dark period of his life this was. But he's writing in 400 AD. And the idea of child brides at that age did not become the settled norm until AD 529. We're told that we should not be anachronistic. We should judge by the cultural issues of the time, the geographical issues of the time. But Paul Williams has done no homework here. Paul Williams has done no research here. Paul Williams has one agenda, and that is to mislead people, to make them think that there is nothing wrong with their false Islamic faith. But I am here to tell you, and I am here to tell Paul Williams, that every time he wants to attack our early church fathers, there's going to be a response. Every time he wants to attack the early church councils, there's going to be a response. And Paul Williams, the challenge is there. Come and debate. Come and debate. If you want to debate the early church fathers as well alone, we can debate the early church fathers. But it's very clear. Paul Williams realizes that the brothers Sam and myself are targeting him. We're replying to him, and look, we may not have that massive Islamic following that he has. We may not have that massive Islamic following that he's got, but our videos are getting plenty of views as well, Paul, plenty. And we know they're being shared because not only are we getting plenty of views on our channel, other people are downloading them and sharing them on their channels, and the views are accumulating, and people are going to realize how bankrupt your theology is. Because there is only true theology, theological clarity to be found in our triune God. And the early church fathers were those patristic pillars that stood up for the truth, those pillars, those foundations, those incredible figures that would have gone to the death. Indeed, many did go to their martyrdom defending the ancient apostolic faith. St. Augustine, intercede for me, intercede for us. Intercede for us as you are now part of that great cloud of witnesses that the book of Hebrews tells us about. Father, Son, Holy Spirit. Amen.